If you like the content, subscribe to see more content. Prologue. Joseph Murphy won't teach you how to fight. He'll teach you how to flow without giving up, how to stop forcing and start receiving, because it's in the invisible that miracles happen. This book isn't about effort, but about alignment. It talks about how life begins to obey you when you stop resisting, how, when you let go of what you crave, everything begins to move toward you. If this is the wisdom your soul seeks, you've come to the right place. Episode 1. The law of the subconscious presents itself in the opposite form, as explained by Joseph Murphy. For a long time, you believed that life only rewarded those who fought tirelessly for what they wanted. You were taught that everything required effort, sacrifice, and perseverance. That if you wanted something, you had to go out and get it, pursue it relentlessly, insist hard, and push until you achieved it. Since childhood, you've heard phrases that have become etched in your mind as absolute truths. Nothing falls from the sky. If it doesn't cost you anything, it's not worth it. Success is for those who never give up. And without realizing it, those beliefs became invisible rules that guided your every step. However, one day something changed. You noticed that no matter how hard you tried, no matter how much you gave it your all, many things simply didn't come. Or if they did, it was with difficulty, delays, and at a very high price. Meanwhile, other people seemed to achieve their goals without so much effort. Calm people, who didn't obsess, who didn't force things, and yet everything flowed naturally. What was happening? It was then that you began to look inward, to question whether there was another way to live, a path no one had shown you. And that's when you discovered the teachings of Joseph Murphy and his vision of the immense power that resides within every human being, the subconscious mind. Murphy explained that the subconscious is like a silent servant, a boundless force that doesn't analyze or question, and that doesn't respond to conscious effort, but rather to deep emotions. He said, "Your subconscious mind accepts as true what you feel is true, not what you affirm with words, not what you yearn for, but what you perceive internally as a calm and authentic conviction." And that's when an idea began to dismantle your old way of understanding reality, the law in reverse. This law holds that when you stop seeking, you find. That when you let go of desire, you receive. That when you stop trying to control every detail, the universe begins to sort it out for you. That when you let go, what seemed distant begins to come closer. It's a counterintuitive law. It defies traditional logic and seems absurd. But if you look closely at your life, you'll notice it has manifested itself more than once. How many times has something you intensely longed for never arrived until, exhausted, you decided to give up, and then it appeared? How many times, despite trying with all your might, something just wouldn't work out, until you let it go and it resolved itself? Joseph Murphy explained it with profound clarity. The subconscious doesn't respond to hectic effort, pressure, or obsession. It responds to calm faith, to the emotionally clear image of something already accomplished. When you manage to imagine with conviction, with sincere emotion, and then release that image without attachment, it's like planting a seed in the most fertile soil in the universe. And that seed, if you don't dig it up, if you don't doubt it, if you don't crush it with your fears, blossoms on its own. Most people fail in this process because they try to control the growth of that seed. They plant it, but the next day they're already digging to see if it has sprouted. They repeat affirmations without emotion, visualize mechanically, and wish with anxiety disguised as hope. But the subconscious doesn't respond to that state. React to peace, to inner conviction, to the genuine feeling that it already is. When you act from anxiety, you're actually sending the message that you don't have what you want. You vibrate from a place of lack. And even if you repeat, "I am abundant," if deep down you feel otherwise, your subconscious receives that emotional message, not the words. That's why many people repeat affirmations for years without results. But when you manage to affirm them with serenity, with confidence, with the inner certainty that this is already a reality, even if your eyes don't see it yet, then your subconscious begins to work in your favor. And this is where the magic of the reverse law happens, the sacred paradox. When you let go of desire, you attract it. When you stop seeking, you find. When you no longer need it, it manifests. Joseph Murphy wisely put it, the subconscious doesn't need convincing or exhaustion. It just needs you to show it a clear picture with your emotions. Then step back, trust, relax, and go on with your life as if everything's already taken care of. This requires something few master, silent faith. That faith that doesn't need to see to believe, that doesn't despair, that knows the seed has already been planted, that the invisible is in motion, that doesn't question or interfere with doubts every day. The true creator understands that his role is not to force reality, but to align himself with it. He knows that his greatest responsibility is to maintain inner harmony, to trust, and not to try to control the how or the when. When you manage to let go, your energy transforms. You move from anxiety to calm, from overwhelming desire to serene power, from scarcity to worthiness. And in this energetic transformation, the subconscious awakens its strength, and what seemed impossible begins to become reality. What previously resisted begins to flow. And you, instead of chasing after life, become a silent magnet that calmly attracts. This is the first step toward a new way of living. A gentler, wiser way, more aligned with the natural order of the universe. It's not about abandoning your dreams, nor about leaving everything to chance. It's about recognizing that there comes a point at which your conscious effort can no longer do more. And right there, in that fertile emptiness, in that conscious surrender, is where the invisible begins to act in your favor. This chapter isn't a theory, it's a key that opens the door to a new dimension of manifestation. One in which you don't need to fight, chase, or convince. One in which all you have to do is feel, sow, and release. From here, I'll guide you step by step to understand how to activate that inner power, how to effortlessly reprogram your subconscious mind, how to live in that natural state of creation where everything aligns without any need for pressure. Because the universe does not reward those who run the most, but those who trust the most. And once you understand this, there's no turning back. All that's left is to move forward toward a more authentic, fuller life, one in profound harmony with who you truly are. From a young age, we were taught that wanting something strongly is the first step to achieving it. We were told that if we want something hard enough, if we focus, if we obsess, sooner or later we will achieve it. Society celebrates intensity and the relentless pursuit. It values the busy mind, the one who never stops, the one who persists, the one who pushes. And while this energy can move things on the physical plane, on the subconscious level the rules are different. What no one explained to us is that desiring something with attachment or anxiety doesn't bring you closer to what you want, but rather pushes you further away. It seems like a contradiction, right? We want something deeply. We yearn for it. We imagine it over and over again. We wish for it with all our might, and yet it never comes. Why does this happen? Because behind that desire lies fear, doubt, the feeling that not having it is a problem. And that's exactly what the subconscious perceives. The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It doesn't know whether what you're thinking is happening right now or not. It simply receives what you feel is real. So, if you intensely desire something, but there's tension, worry, or anxiety inside, the message your subconscious mind receives isn't, "This is already mine," but rather, "I'm missing this, I don't have this, I'm worried about this." And what does your subconscious mind do? It keeps you on exactly that frequency, the frequency of not having it. Joseph Murphy explained it clearly. Your subconscious responds to emotion, not logic, to internal conviction, not external effort. When you desire with attachment, you are not in conviction, you are in lack. You are in an energy that says, "I don't have it, I need it." And the universe, a reflection of your inner self, responds, "So be it. You will still need it." This is one of the most common mistakes of those beginning to work with the law of the mind. They confuse desire with faith, mental effort with spiritual power. They cling to the outcome, repeat affirmations without conviction, visualize from a place of scarcity, And when they don't see results, they get frustrated, give up, and think that all this doesn't work. But it's not that it doesn't work. It's that they're doing it from the wrong energy. Imagine this. You're standing on the shore of a still lake. The water is serene, clear as a mirror. You pick up a stone, calmly make a request, gently throw it in, and watch the ripples expand in harmony. That's letting go from peace. But if instead you pick up a handful of stones and throw them forcefully, one after the other, anxiously, expecting immediate results, what happens? The water becomes choppy, cloudy, and you no longer see anything. That's desire with attachment. Many people believe that if they don't desire something intensely, they aren't manifesting it correctly, that if they don't visualize it 20 times a day, the universe won't move. But the truth is that when you truly believe something is yours, you don't obsess over it. You don't need to check it every 5 minutes. You let go, trust, and move on with your life. That is the greatest sign of faith, the ability to let go without fear. Think of it this way. When you ask your subconscious for something, you're giving an order to a force that doesn't need your help to execute it. You don't have to remind it. You don't need to repeat it 100 times anxiously. You just have to feel that it's already done and let it act. It's natural for doubts to arise, for the rational mind to say, what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm wasting my time? But that's where the real practice comes in, staying in the vibration of certainty, even if you don't yet see the outcome with your eyes. Joseph Murphy referred to this as mentalized faith, the faith that doesn't need external proof to feel real, the faith that rests, that doesn't force, that doesn't pursue. That faith is magnetic, and it's what moves the subconscious in your favor. There's something else. When you crave something with anxiety, you're declaring, even if you don't know it, that without it you're not enough, that you need it to feel complete. And the subconscious interprets this as a lack, not a certainty. It then keeps you in that reality of constant need. But when you know, feel, and act as if you're already complete, as if you already have what you desire, without attachment to the outcome, without anxiety, then the subconscious reacts, activates, aligns. That's why many people manifest what they desire more easily when they do so from playfulness, curiosity, and fun, rather than desperation. In those moments, they are more relaxed, less rigid, and more open. They are on a wavelength that allows, rather than blocks. And here's the profound truth that almost no one wants to accept. Excessive desire is resistance. Attachment is fear in disguise, and anxiety is the signal that you don't trust. So, when you notice yourself desiring something too strongly, stop, breathe, return to your center, and ask yourself, am I desiring this from a place of plenitude or lack? From faith or fear? From trust or despair? The answer to that question will make the difference between manifesting with fluidity or remaining trapped in the cycle of striving. Joseph Murphy didn't teach us to try harder. He taught us to align ourselves better, to live with certainty, to understand that the subconscious doesn't need intensity, it needs clarity. It doesn't need drama, it needs direction. It doesn't need struggle, it needs faith. And faith, when it's true, doesn't scream, it doesn't run, it simply knows. This chapter is an invitation to let go of desire from attachment and replace it with a certain intention. To stop pushing life and start allowing it. To replace anxiety with trust. And to remember that what you're seeking is already seeking you, but it can't find you while you're running away from the present. The next chapter will show you how to properly plant that desire in your subconscious without anxiety or interference, and how to activate its power deeply and naturally. Because you didn't come here to chase dreams, you came here to remember them and allow them to find you. Episode 2. How to make your desires penetrate your subconscious mind. Now that you've understood that anxious desire blocks manifestation, and that true power lies in feeling, trusting, and letting go, it's time to learn how to plant an idea in the fertile garden of your subconscious. Yes, the subconscious is fertile ground, but not all seeds flourish. For your desire to grow, the seed must be clear, coherent, and free of contradictions. But above all, it must be planted in the right emotional state. Joseph Murphy explained it masterfully. The most powerful moment to communicate with your subconscious is when the rational mind relaxes. When you stop analyzing, comparing, or calculating. Those moments before sleep, upon waking, or in states of deep calm, when mental noise fades away and only pure receptivity remains. That is the sacred moment. It is then that the idea penetrates without resistance, like a drop of ink in still water. First principle: emotion is the language of the subconscious. You can repeat 1,000 affirmations a day, but if you do so without feeling, without resonating with them, they will have no effect. On the other hand, if you take a single phrase, a clear idea, and imbue it with deep emotion, peace, gratitude, certainty, or joy, that idea will reach the heart of your subconscious and begin to transform into reality. How do you plant a desire? It's not imposed, forced, or repeated out of fear. It's planted with intention and watered with emotion. Imagine this scene. You're lying down, your mind calm, about to fall asleep. Your breathing is deep, your body is relaxed. In this state, you visualize a concrete and realistic scene that represents your wish fulfilled. You don't ask for it, you experience it. You see it, feel it, hear it, breathe it. It doesn't need to be long. A few seconds are enough. The crucial thing is not the duration, but the emotional intensity. If that image provokes a sincere smile, a sigh of relief, or a warmth in your chest, the order has been given. Murphy recommended repeating simple phrases in this state. I am at peace, and everything comes easily. My mind is aligned with good. What I need flows to me effortlessly, in perfect harmony. It's not about repeating them mechanically, but rather about feeling the truth behind those words. One well-felt affirmation is worth more than 100 empty ones. Avoid contradictions. Many people affirm something positive during the day, but then cancel it out with negative thoughts. They say, I am abundant, but complain about money. They proclaim, I am healthy, but repeat that they are tired. The subconscious hears everything, not only your words in meditation, but also your automatic thoughts, your daily emotions, and your hidden beliefs. Therefore, planting an idea requires caring for the soil. You can't plant a flower and water it with poison. Protect your mind like a sacred garden. Avoid speaking harshly to yourself. Reduce constant complaints. Don't reinforce the opposite of what you want. Every thought is an affirmation, every emotion a command. The subconscious mind doesn't understand sarcasm or negative jokes. It simply obeys. What if you struggle with visualization or feeling? Start where you are. You're not demanding perfection, just practice. Your subconscious doesn't demand crystal-clear images from day one, but rather emotional repetition. As you calm your mind, reduce urgency, and increase confidence, your capacity to feel expands. What at first seemed forced becomes natural. The power of the hypnagogic state. Joseph Murphy called the moment between wakefulness and sleep the threshold of the subconscious. It's pure gold. The conscious mind lowers its guard, and any image, word, or emotion you introduce penetrates directly into the depths. That's why nighttime rituals are key. Don't fall asleep rehashing problems or consuming negative news. Use those minutes to sow a positive scene, a powerful phrase, or a feeling of gratitude. That's enough. That's manifesting with the subconscious. And then let it go. Without obsessing, without checking it 1,000 times a day. Live as if it were already on its way, because trusting isn't waiting with resignation, but knowing that the seed has been planted and life is already working on it. So far, you've learned that the subconscious responds to emotions, not effort, that desiring from anxiety blocks, and that the secret lies in planting a clear image and letting go. But now we come to one of the most powerful practices of all, conscious visualization. And, most importantly, the art of letting go after visualizing. Visualizing isn't simply imagining, it's much deeper. It's an internal experience that reprograms your reality. When you visualize with clarity, emotion, and intention, you activate the creative machinery of your subconscious mind. You are building the invisible blueprint of what will later become visible. It's as if you were drawing a map that life will follow to the letter. However, there's a very common mistake. People visualize and then wait, question, doubt, or push, which interrupts the process. Because what you imagine with faith takes root, but what you later question with fear falls apart. The key lies in a very simple formula, which holds infinite wisdom. Visualize, feel, and then forget. Let's take it step by step. First, visualize. It's not about watching a complex mental movie. A scene is enough, a brief but powerful image. If you want to manifest abundance, you don't need to imagine millions of bills or luxury cars. You just need to see yourself opening a letter with good news, receiving a call that makes you happy, seeing your bank account calm, or walking with a smile through the life you're living. It's not about material details, but real emotions. The subconscious doesn't need luxuries. It needs to feel that you're already there. Then feel. This is the most important thing. What would you feel if that were already true? Peace, gratitude, enthusiasm. Allow yourself to experience those emotions, even for a moment. Let your body register it. Let your mind say, "This is real." If you can feel it as true, even for an instant, you are already sowing. And finally, forget. Yes, forget. This is where many get confused. Forgetting doesn't mean losing interest, giving up, or stopping wanting it. No, forgetting isn't giving up. Forgetting is trusting so much that you no longer need to remember it. It's like ordering in a restaurant. You don't stare anxiously at the kitchen. You don't repeat your order every 5 minutes. You know it's already been received, that they're working on it, and you just wait. That's the process with the subconscious. After visualizing and feeling, you must let it go. Not because it doesn't matter, but because it's already yours, it's already been delivered, it's already been planted. Now, if you keep looking at it with doubt, you're unearthing it. If you chase it with fear, you're saying you don't believe. And that's interference. This is one of the most subtle and powerful acts of manifestation, letting go without losing faith. And to achieve this, you must change your relationship with time. Time is not your enemy, it's your ally. Time allows what you sow to grow deeply. Every day that passes without you seeing it is not proof that you failed, but a sign that life is preparing for the best. Trust in the invisible is the bridge between your desire and your reality. Joseph Murphy spoke of this as the attitude of silent fulfillment. It's that inner state where you know that what you've asked for has already been received. Even if your eyes don't see it yet, even if circumstances say otherwise, you know it, you feel it, and therefore you don't need to force it. At this point, your job is no longer to create. It's to keep your interior clean. Avoid contradicting what you sowed. Don't say, "This never comes. Maybe it wasn't meant for me. Surely something is wrong." Because those phrases are also commands. And the subconscious doesn't distinguish between a joke or a complaint. It just obeys. Instead, live with a gentle certainty. Enjoy your present. Do your part, but without burdening yourself with the anxiety of the outcome. Like the gardener who sows with love and knows that, at the right moment, the flower will bloom. Do you want to speed up the process? Do it. After visualizing, simply give thanks as if it were already real. Give thanks calmly, sincerely. Thank you, because it's already done. Thank you, because I already have it. And then let go. Don't think about how it will happen, or when, or where. Just live your day from that energy, from that state of reception. And if one day you feel anxious, visualize again, feel again, and let go again. Visualization isn't a mechanical act. It's an intimate ritual with your soul. Do it with devotion, with love, with gentleness. It's not a duty. It's a celebration, a silent conversation with the all-powerful part of you. Because, deep down, you're not asking the universe. You're reminding yourself that you already are what you desire. And when you remember this so clearly that you can feel it, then the universe aligns, matter responds, the path opens, and you simply smile, because you know it's already on its way. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the kind of faith that truly moves mountains. Silent faith, a faith without shouting, without urgency, without demonstrations, but so powerful that everything in your life begins to reorganize itself effortlessly. Prepare to enter the space where quiet certainty speaks louder than words. Episode 3. There's a kind of power that can't be seen, that makes no noise, that doesn't need to be demonstrated, but when it's present, everything changes. Energy moves, reality settles. What seemed stagnant begins to flow. What seemed distant becomes close. That power can't be shouted, discussed, or explained. It's carried within, felt deep within. That power is called silent faith. Joseph Murphy didn't speak of faith as a religious concept or a matter of dogma. For him, faith was a natural law, a frequency, a mental force that, when sustained without noise, becomes the most powerful engine for manifestation. Faith, he said, is the internal belief sustained in an idea, without the need for proof, without the need to see to believe. It is a certainty that does not depend on external conditions. It is a resounding yes pronounced from the soul in complete silence. However, the world has taught us something else. It has taught us to trust only when we see results, to have faith only when everything is going well, to believe if there are signs, progress, or tangible proof that we are on the right path. And if there aren't any, then we doubt, we fret, we become anxious, we begin to wonder if something is wrong, if we are manifesting incorrectly, if the universe has forgotten us. We have been trained to depend on the visible, but the visible arrives late. The visible is the reflection, the delay, the consequence. The invisible, on the other hand, is the cause, the seed. It is where everything begins, and therein lies faith. Imagine this. If you plant a seed in the ground, you don't sit next to it watching every second. You don't dig it up every morning to see if it's germinated. You know it's quietly working underground. You know something is happening, even if you can't see it. That's the gardener's faith, a faith that doesn't waver, that doesn't interrupt the process, that doesn't need proof to keep believing. Your subconscious works in a similar way. Every idea you sow, every desire you imprint with emotion and certainty, begins to germinate in the invisible. But if you doubt, if you fret, if you shake it off with anxiety, or contradict it with opposing thoughts, you halt the growth, disrupt the process, and push away the outcome. Silent faith is that state of mind in which you know something already exists, even if you can't yet see it with your eyes. It's a feeling of fulfillment before the evidence. It's a peace that doesn't depend on the outcome. It's acting as if it's already done, because deep down you know it is. Joseph Murphy said that true faith isn't built with strength, but with perseverance. It's not about repeating things intensely, but about feeling them sincerely. And it's not about convincing the universe, but about convincing yourself. Because once you're convinced, everything around you begins to align. People, opportunities, ideas, paths, everything responds to that internal frequency you silently hold. But how do you cultivate that silent faith in a world that constantly demands proof? Results, explanations. How do you sustain certainty in the midst of uncertainty? First, by understanding that faith isn't a momentary emotion, but a daily decision. It's waking up every morning and deciding to walk as if you already were the person you want to be, not because you see it outside, but because you feel it inside. It's speaking, thinking, and acting from that place. And when you fall, when you doubt, when anxiety knocks on your door, simply breathe, acknowledge the sensation, and return to your center, return to your faith. Second, learning not to depend on time. Silent faith doesn't wear a watch. It doesn't say, if this doesn't arrive in a week, I'll stop believing. Because it knows that time is merely a tool of the universe to better organize its operations. It knows that what you're waiting for isn't taking too long. It's maturing, and the more you trust, the faster it blossoms. Third, guard your dreams as a sacred secret. Not everyone has to understand what you're manifesting. Not everyone will resonate with your vision. Sometimes, sharing your faith with people who don't understand it only creates doubt, and doubt is a vibration that weakens the signal. Learn to protect your faith, to nurture it silently, to maintain it as an inner flame that doesn't need applause or approval, that burns just because. Silent faith isn't imposed, defended, or explained. It's lived. And when you live it, it shows, it's felt, and people perceive it, even if they don't know why. Your energy changes, your way of speaking changes, your way of being in the world changes, and from that new frequency, life responds in a new way. You might be asking yourself, what if I have doubts? What if I don't feel strong? What if I can't avoid the fear? And the answer is, that's okay. Faith isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to keep believing despite the fear. It's looking your fear in the eye and saying, "You can stay, but I'll keep going anyway." Because true faith isn't perfect. It's courageous, it's humble, it's constant. Joseph Murphy knew this. That's why he taught that the best way to strengthen your faith is through emotional repetition, not by repeating soulless phrases, but by reminding yourself every day from the heart. This is already mine. My subconscious is creating it. Everything is working, even if I don't see it yet. And then let go. Let go of control. Let go of the when. Let go of the how. And rest. Rest in that faith that doesn't need anything to change in order to feel at peace, because it knows that everything is already changing, even if it isn't noticeable yet. This kind of faith is rare, it's powerful, and when you cultivate it, you become a magnetic being. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer push, you flow. You no longer force, you trust. And in that state, everything that was difficult becomes simple. Everything that seemed impossible becomes inevitable. That is the true engine of manifestation, and you have it within you. We've been taught that movement is life, that the more you do, the more you're worth, that if you're not running, producing, or demonstrating, you're wasting time. The culture of productivity has become so dominant that we've forgotten something essential: the power of not doing. That sacred space where everything begins to align without you forcing it, without you interfering. Joseph Murphy, with admirable clarity, taught us that there are times when conscious action must give way to the wisdom of the unconscious. That there are times when the best way forward is to stay still. The universe does not respond to desperate effort, but to vibrational balance. The subconscious works most effectively when the conscious mind stops trying to control everything. Imagine you've just planted a seed, a very special one. You've carefully chosen the soil, planted it with intention, watered it with dedication. What do you do next? Do you sit by its side, begging it to sprout? Do you dig it up every day to check if it's germinated? No, you leave it alone. You trust that the earth knows how to fulfill its purpose, because life doesn't need you to push it. It only requires that you not interrupt it. This is how your subconscious works. Once you give it a clear image, an intention imbued with emotion, your only task is to withdraw with confidence. Don't touch it again out of doubt. Don't stir it with fearful thoughts. Don't demand daily proof of it. Just allow, wait serenely, live in the meantime, flow. But this truth bothers the modern mind. We're so used to intervening, manipulating, and controlling every step that when the time comes to do nothing, anxiety invades us. We feel like something is slipping away from us, that if we don't act externally, nothing will move internally. However, the most profound changes occur in silence, in space, in pause. Just as your body regenerates while you sleep, your reality reorganizes when you stop interfering. Because there's a higher intelligence operating through your subconscious. And that intelligence doesn't need you to understand it. It just requires that you step back. There's a creative force that is activated when you stop forcing, when instead of fighting the current, you become part of its flow. When you stop asking, when will it happen? How will it happen? What if it doesn't work out? And simply open yourself to receive. This, not doing, we speak of as not laziness, nor resignation, nor indifference. It is a powerful decision, an act of faith that declares, "My part is done. Now I allow the universe to do its part." It is opening space for the invisible, emptying the channel of anxiety, becoming a serene and available receptacle. Because only when there is space can things arrive. Only when there is silence can answers be heard. Only when you quiet your mind can life speak to you. This is one of the best-kept secrets of the great sages, the art of allowing. And allowing requires more strength than acting, because while action gives you an illusion of control, surrender demands absolute trust. Joseph Murphy warned that many people block their manifestations because they don't know how to stay still. They ask, visualize, affirm, but they don't let go. They cling to desire with tension, and that same tension vibrates with lack, fear, and mistrust. And the subconscious, which only responds to vibration, continues to manifest more of that, more waiting, more absence, more doubt. That's why not doing is a higher action. It's not passivity. It's deep presence. It's saying to the universe, I'm ready. I've let go. It's done. And from that place, energy reorganizes, paths open, synchronicities appear. Has it ever happened to you that, finally, when you surrendered, everything was resolved? That when you stopped desperately searching, what you longed for came by itself? That when you released the obsession with the outcome, it materialized? It's no coincidence. It's the law in action, life responding to a genuine letting go, not to apathy, but to the certainty that everything is happening, even if you don't see it yet. Murphy reminded us that the subconscious is infinitely wise, but it can't act when the conscious mind floods it with fear, doubt, or need. That's why inner silence is so valuable. In that emptiness, the subconscious takes the reins, aligns, attracts, and manifests. And you, meanwhile, simply live, enjoying the process, walking without haste, breathing without urgency, trusting without demanding proof. This is true, not doing, a state of calm power, a fertile pause, a void filled with possibilities. Because there is no greater strength than that of one who knows how to wait without anxiety, pause without fear, and trust unconditionally. If you're reading this and you've already set your intention, affirmed your desire, and visualized your goal, perhaps this is your next step. Stop doing. Just for today, just to observe what emerges. And perhaps, in that stillness, you'll discover signs that previously went unnoticed. Perhaps in that stillness, you'll feel what the noise was drowning out. And perhaps, just perhaps, you'll understand that what you've been searching for with so much effort was about to arrive, the moment you chose to remain in peace. Because you don't always have to run to advance. You don't always have to fight to win. And you don't always have to do to receive. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is to do nothing. Episode 4. Affirmations that are effective in a gentle, profound, and effortless way. There's something deeply liberating in hearing that everything comes when you learn to let go. It sounds simple. It seems logical, even after understanding how the subconscious works. But even so, the mind often resists accepting this idea. The mind wants to see proof. It desires results. It yearns for stories that prove letting go really works. That's why, in this chapter, we'll stop theorizing for a moment. We'll delve into real stories, into authentic moments, into situations where ordinary people, like you and me, decided to take a step back, surrender in the best way possible, and witnessed how life, through silence, offered them more than they expected. One of the most powerful stories Joseph Murphy shared in his books was that of a woman who had wanted to get married for years. Not out of desperation, but out of a sincere desire to share her life with someone who truly connected with her. She did affirmations, visualized, wrote, prayed, but nothing happened. No relationship thrived, no connection was genuine. One day, exhausted, she said to herself, I'm not going to push anymore. If it's for me, it will come. And if not, I'll be at peace. And it was in that act of surrender, not as a giving up, but as a resting, that something shifted in her energy. Instead of continuing to search, she began to live. Instead of waiting, she began to enjoy. She focused on herself, on her passions, on her peace. And it was right there, in the midst of her freedom, that she met the man she would later marry. A natural connection, effortless, without searching, as if life had been waiting for exactly that moment when she would surrender without giving up. This type of experience is more common than you might imagine. Another case described by Murphy is that of an entrepreneur who had been trying to close a deal for years. He met with investors, proposed ideas, adjusted strategies. Everything seemed to promise success, until at the last minute something failed again and again. It was then that he realized he was trying to control every detail, wanting to be the author of every step, the one completely responsible for everything. He decided to apply what he had read. He handed over the result and said to himself, if this opportunity is for me, it will happen effortlessly. I've done my part. Now let the universe do its part. And he calmly walked away from the matter. He went on with his life. Not even 2 weeks later, he received an unexpected call. A partner who had previously retired returned with a new proposal. The deal closed, but not as he had planned, but in an even better way. And it all happened right after he let go. Do you see the pattern? When you stop acting from tension, control, or fear, life finds space to act with you. When you release rigid expectations, the result can come freely. The subconscious doesn't need your anxiety. It needs your clarity and your space. There are also smaller, but equally revealing stories. People who were looking for a job, and after months of failed attempts, simply stopped looking and decided to use that time to study, walk, and return to their center. And right at that moment, someone contacted them or they saw an ad that seemed written for them. They got the job without asking, without forcing, without chasing, just by being in the right place internally. Because that's what changes everything, your internal state. It's not about becoming passive or ceasing to desire or doing anything. It's about acting from a different place, from an energy that doesn't demand but allows, from a vibration that doesn't beg but knows, from a heart that doesn't despair but trusts. Joseph Murphy put it this way: when you know what you want, plant it in your subconscious and live as if it were already done. The result is not yours. It belongs to infinite intelligence, and it never fails. The problem is that we weren't taught to trust that intelligence. We were taught to trust only what we see, what we control, what we understand. But the subconscious doesn't need you to understand it. It only needs you not to contradict it, not to interrupt it, not to defuse it with your doubts. So, when you hear these stories, don't think they were coincidences. They weren't. They were direct results of an aligned internal state, a state in which the person let go of their neediness and chose peace. And you can do the same today. You can take that idea you so desire and, instead of holding it tightly, hold it gently. You can say to it, I love you, I choose you, but I don't need you to be happy. I am already at peace. You will arrive when it's time. That affirmation, spoken from the soul, has immense power because the universe hears that, feels that vibration, and moves with it. It doesn't matter what you're longing for, a relationship, a healing, an opportunity, an answer. It doesn't matter if you've tried many times before. What matters now is how you hold it, from pressure or from trust, from fear or from certainty, from attachment or from freedom. When you choose the latter, the miracle doesn't take long to arrive because you're no longer blocking it, no longer pushing it away, no longer chasing it. And then, as if by magic, it begins to approach. And that's not magic. That's the law of the subconscious, the law of active surrender, the law of conscious receiving. Something begins to transform within you when you understand that you no longer need to keep asking for what you want, that you no longer need to insist, that it's not your anxiety that brings you closer to your dreams, but your serenity. That moment is difficult to explain because it doesn't happen like an explosion. There are no fireworks, no signs to announce it. It happens in the most subtle way, as deep things do, in silence, in peace. One day you wake up and something inside you no longer resonates the same. Where there was once urgency, now there is calm. Where there was once fear, now there is a calm certainty. And where there was once emptiness, a feeling of fullness begins to emerge. You no longer need so much. Not because you've lost your dreams, but because you no longer need them to feel good. You no longer live from need, now you live from trust. And this internal change, although invisible to others, marks a before and after in your life. Because from that moment on, you stop creating from a place of scarcity. You stop vibrating in the I lack mode and enter the I already am. You no longer visualize to achieve, you visualize to feel. You no longer affirm expecting results. You affirm because that is your truth now, your new normal, your new identity. Joseph Murphy said that the most powerful manifestation is the one that occurs when you stop acting as if you need something and start acting as if you already have it, as if it were obvious, natural, unavoidable. That is the most powerful signal you can send to the subconscious, vibrational coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, words, and actions align, everything you ask for arrives, not as something external, but as something that was waiting to be acknowledged by you. Because the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what vibrates with you. And when you vibrate in need, you only attract more reasons to continue needing. But when you vibrate with confidence, with gratitude, with calm satisfaction, everything begins to turn in your favor. Living from trust is a daily decision. It's not a state you achieve once and for all. It's an ongoing practice, like conscious breathing. Every morning you can choose between two paths: going out into the world with the energy of someone who has to fight for everything, or going out with the energy of someone who already knows that everything is happening for your highest good. And that doesn't mean you don't have goals, dreams, or intentions. Of course you do. The difference is that now you don't use them as a condition for being happy. Now you are happy as you move toward them, and that changes everything. Before, when things didn't go as expected, you panicked, doubted, and frustrated. You thought something was wrong, that you were failing. Now, if something doesn't happen, you trust, you breathe, and you tell yourself, if it wasn't this way, it will be another way. And if it wasn't now, it will be at the right time. Not because you're resigned, but because you know you're supported, that you're guided, that there's something greater than your conscious mind organizing the details with love. And that changes your life, changes your posture, your tone of voice, your way of looking, your way of being present. People notice it, even if they don't know what it is. Your presence transmits peace. Your energy inspires confidence. Your silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. Because when you no longer need to control everything to feel at peace, peace becomes your home. And from that inner home, you create a completely different reality. You no longer seek relationships to fill voids. You now attract relationships from your fullness. You no longer pursue opportunities out of fear of being left with nothing. You now receive opportunities because you know you deserve them. You no longer use spirituality as a means to achieve things. Spirituality is now your way of life, and that's the big difference. You've stopped seeking power outside of yourself and have recognized it within. You no longer need to affirm it because you are truly there. You affirm it because it's your reality. You no longer meditate to quiet the noise. You meditate because you feel at home in the silence. You no longer exercise to get something moving. You do it because you love yourself, because what you do is born from your inner state, not from your external fear. Living from trust doesn't make you immune to challenges, but it gives you a firm foundation. It gives you deep, unshakable roots. From there, you can weather storms, but they won't uproot you. You can feel the wind, but it won't shake you because you no longer need everything to be perfect to feel good. You are already well. You are already whole. You are already on the path. And when you reach this point, the universe begins to reflect that same state back to you. Doors open, problems are solved more easily, the right people appear. Synchronicity becomes an everyday occurrence, and you, without much effort, without chasing anything, realize that everything you once desperately sought now arrives. And it's no coincidence. It's a consequence of your new vibration, your new way of being in the world, the trust that now lives within you like a silent flame. From here on, everything changes because you no longer pursue your dreams from a place of lack. You go from a place of certainty. You no longer need them to be fulfilled to be happy, because you are already happy, and that, dear reader, is the highest manifestation that exists. Not getting what you want, but becoming someone who no longer needs it to feel complete. And from there, without doing anything extra, everything comes. In the next chapter, we will close this journey, not as if we were ending a story, but as if we were opening a new way of life. Episode 5. The power to let go, trust, and allow yourself to be guided. You've made it this far. You've walked the path. You've heard every word not only with your ears, but with your heart. And deep down, you know, you are no longer the same person who began this journey. Something inside you has silently transformed, like a seed breaking through the earth from the depths, unseen, but with unstoppable force. Now you are here, with a new understanding, a renewed awareness, and an energy that cannot be seen, but can be felt. This is not the end. It is the beginning of your new reality. a reality in which you no longer anxiously seek, because you have learned that what is meant for you comes when you let go of control. A reality where you stop fighting life and begin to flow with it. You no longer live reacting to fear, but responding from peace. Joseph Murphy, through his teachings, didn't come to promise you an easy life or instant solutions. He came to remind you that within you lies something powerful, wise, and infinite, capable of transforming any experience if you learn to collaborate with it instead of resisting it. That power isn't external. It doesn't depend on others or on results. It's within you, in your faith, in your certainty, in your ability to surrender, but not as someone who lives on the surface understands it, not as a renunciation out of frustration, but as a surrender from wisdom, as someone who, finally, allows themselves to be sustained by something greater. Letting go isn't about giving up, it's about choosing. It's about letting go of interference, about freeing yourself from the illusion of control and embracing the invisible order that has always guided you. Trust isn't naivety, it's courage. It's looking at the world, at uncertainty, at your fears, and saying, I'll keep walking the same way. It's moving forward step by step, without knowing how, but with clarity about the why. Allowing yourself to be guided isn't passivity, it's wisdom in action. It's tuning into your intuition rather than your fears. It's allowing life to surprise you, rather than trying to control every moment. Because what you plan with your mind has limits, but what you allow from your soul knows none. This is the moment to trust, in that strength that sustains you when everything seems uncertain, in that invisible law that has brought you here, in your subconscious, that sacred space where everything is created when you decide to let go. You don't need to memorize every teaching or repeat phrases like a manual. You just need to feel the calm that already dwells within you, the faith that already blossoms, the presence that never leaves you. If something on this trip resonated with you, there's no going back, because you already know the feeling of living in connection. Yes, there will be days of doubt, moments when your old mind will whisper that you can't. But now you have something more powerful than any technique: awareness. From there, you can remind yourself, I can let go, I can trust, I can be guided. And every time you do, a new door will open, a new path will reveal itself, a new part of you will awaken. You are not alone. You never have been. Life isn't against you. Life waits for you to align yourself with it. And that change begins with a single decision. Let go of fear and live from confidence. This isn't the end of the audiobook. It's the beginning of your real life. Now let go. Now trust. Now let yourself be guided. And remember, what's meant for you is already on its way. Your only task is to allow it. Thank you for this journey. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Joseph Murphy's voice now lives in you, and you already know the way back home. Did this message resonate with you? If you've ever felt peace, clarity, or that inner movement that heralds change, this is just the beginning.